Hello, everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Teaching We the People at the high school level. My name is Mark Gage. I am the Director of Publishing for the Center for Civic Education. This webinar is for teachers who are new to the We the People program and anyone interested in learning more about this highly effective civic education curriculum. Feel free to put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So, welcome. I hope you enjoy this, and with this, I will turn it over to Maria Gallo, our Director of Professional Development and Special Programs. Maria.
Hi, I am so happy to be here with you guys tonight. All right, now you will have seen Robert Lemming at one point during this conversation. He is the National Director of the We the People, the Citizen and the Constitution. Say hi, Bob.
Hi, everybody. Welcome tonight. Glad you're here.
And he will be one of our presenters. I will be doing most of the PowerPoint. Bob will occasionally, or more than occasionally, depending on what's going on or whether there's a question he needs to answer, that will be part of the conversation. So Robert Lemming, the National Director of We the People, myself, of course, which you have already been introduced to, the Director of Professional Development and Special Programs, and Mark Gage, the Director of Publishing and Digital Content. So let's talk about We the People in the high school classroom. Now, you should know that even though I will be discussing for the most part the high school level We the People book, it does not say high school level on it. It says level 3. So technically speaking, none of our books really say high school, middle school, elementary school. It's going to be up to you, the teacher, to determine which level of the books, level 3 corresponding to high school, level 2 corresponding to middle school, and level 1 corresponding to upper elementary, what fits the needs of your students, and more importantly, the reading ability of your students. But in either case, there are 3 segments you really need to know about. One is, of course, the curriculum. And so we're going to talk very, very specifically about the curriculum. We're going to talk about the hearing, and we're going to talk about any and all of our supporting materials, or at least those that are directly related to We the People. The reality is that we have other supporting materials as well. First of all, you're going to have to make the decision as a high school teacher, where do you teach this? Do you teach this in American history? Do you teach this in government? How do I teach this? Do I teach this in 6 weeks? Do I teach this in a semester? Do I teach this over the course of a year? The reality is that it's going to be up to you. As a high school teacher, I can tell you I tried very hard. I taught in the Bronx for 14 years, 6 years prior to that. So I did 20 years prior to coming to the center. I did try it in my American history class, and I found that it was very useful there. But when I decided that I was going to compete, I tried it in my government class, which I think worked very, very well. Now, did I teach it in 6 weeks? No, I taught it over the semester of the course. However, you don't have to. It's created to be taught as a 6-week program. You could teach it over the course of a year. You could really do whatever is going to be best for you. Now, the standards. What are your content or performance standards? And you have to take into account your state and local standards. We recognize that you are going to have to be quite vigilant in determining how you're going to present this both to your staff as well as to your principal and or even your superintendent. So, does it match your standards? Does it match the social studies standards or the social history, social science standards, depending on what state you happen to be in? I'm sure I can tell you, as a former teacher in New York State, in New York City, that it fit beautifully in my government and my American history standards, but it also felt beautifully with my ELA standards, because we were required to know what those were, and we were required to be able to deal with them. So you're going to have to look at how is it that the We the People program accounts for both your standards in history or social studies, and as well as ELA or any other standards at all that you could possibly achieve. Now, let's take a look at the curriculum. The student text is divided into 6 units, but you'll notice something very interesting about these units and about these lessons. There's 6 to 7 lessons in each unit. There's 39 lessons in all on the high school level. You'll notice that they're all question marks. Now, for me, it was really very helpful to have them all as question marks, because whenever I covered a subject area, I was able to use I didn't even worry about the number of the lesson. I just worried about the ideas that were there in question format. That might be helpful to you. You should also know that the rest of the lesson, actually the rest of all of the lessons within the lessons have questions as well, so that all of the sections are divided up into questions as well. Very, very important is the scaffolding of our material. Now, scaffolding, another word for scaffolding could be chunking. We very much want you to do as much as possible with this. Scaffolding, if you look at vocabularies, the vocabulary words in lesson 1, which is the one I'm going to start with, I think it works beautifully. You see the words that the kids are going to have to deal with within their subject area, within their lesson, and you will get an opportunity to notice that every single one of these words is very important. But it's going to be up to you, and it says so in the teacher's guide, that you will use whatever vocabulary lesson option that you have created for your class, whether it happens to be a word wall if you're working with younger students or students who are new to the country and are ELA student, English language learners, or whatever you happen to have in your classroom. You also notice that every single lesson has a variety of pictures. Some of them are cartoons, some of them are actual pictures. This also allows us to chunk, because every single one of these pictures has a caption that's usually a question. 99.9% of the time it happens to be a question. You can choose to use it, or you could choose not to use it. Or you could choose to ask your own question if you want. The lesson itself can also be chunked. What are some of the characteristics of colonial America? So you'll see that some of the segments, what are the forms of government could the founders choose from? These are all in the form of questions, but they are all segments that can be scaffolded in. And I don't know why all of a sudden oh, there it goes. We also have spiraling of content. So what is important at the beginning of the lesson is also very important at the end of the book. So you will notice, I just picked out 2 particular ideas, such as the common good and self-interest. You will notice I wrote down the lessons. You'll also think about the questions that are asked. Now you will notice that the words common good and self-interest appear in all sorts of lessons throughout the book itself, all the way up to lesson 34. You have actual conversations, discussions, and so the what do you think question really does rely on students knowing what the words common good and self-interest really mean in order for them to either agree or disagree or talk about effective ways of experiencing enlightened self-interest. All of that, it comes into play. And so I think it's very important, whether you are looking at our pictures and cartoons. I have here a very simple one from lesson 1, which shows you which of Hobbes' ideas do you find most interesting and why. This really allows a student to actually think about not only what they find most interesting about Hobbes, which may be nothing, I'm not quite sure, but they will also have to give their own opinion as to why they find this interesting. As opposed to the cartoon itself, which asks the students to illustrate what part of, is it Hobbes or Locke, concept of state of nature that's actually described in or shown in the visual, in the cartoon. You have to know. You have to know both Hobbes and Locke and their concept of state of nature and how they differ as well as how they are similar in order to be able to answer the question. So here you have the ability to work with students that are on a higher plane. This continues on throughout the course of the lessons. These are found in the very first unit, but you will find most of these also in the materials. You will also find that although you have less and less of an individual simply phrasing, you know, what I like most about the interest, it's that why that becomes super important. The why that becomes very, very, very important. And that is their ability to talk and discuss what it is that they feel that their opinions bring and what is it based on. It's not just what they felt like this morning. We also offer critical thinking exercises. So every single lesson in every single unit has critical thinking exercises. These exercises often use cooperative learning. So kids have to work with each other within roles, but here's a great opportunity to see how the ELA skills actually come in, because many of these are going to require research skills, speaking skills, debate skills. So they are also wonderful. I'm going to show you that just the titles of some in each of the units. So you had unit 1 and 2 before, you have units 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. Just a couple of very quick opportunities to see what it is that they are going to be doing within the context of that critical thinking question, and therefore, or that critical thinking activity, I should say, and therefore have the opportunity to take a look at getting ready to talk to each other, disagreeing with each other, but in a very polite form. That's something that you're going to have to bring to them. The idea of civil discourse comes into the critical thinking exercises, and it helps them prepare for what will ultimately be a hearing. And of course, every lesson ends with reviewing and using the lesson. These can be used either as homework assignments, class discussions. So regardless of what it says in the teacher's guide as to how to use these particular reviewing and using the lesson aspects at the end of every lesson, it's going to be up to you to make that decision and that determination. You will notice though, from lesson 1, they're very practical questions. But in lesson 23, okay, 22 lessons later, although you still have practical questions at the end of the lesson, it actually asks you to do a little bit more thinking. For example, how can public opinion affect presidential power? That's not a question we would have asked, but it does require a tremendous amount of thinking. Now, if you think about it's 22 lessons into the book, I think at that point, they're able to handle anything like that. Now, let's go to the hearing. First, you have to decide whether or not you're going to do the hearing as a competitive or a non-competitive event. Now, in order to learn that, you have to learn what the questions are, and you can actually find them. And Mark, I'm going to try my best. Here's an example of, there are 2 places that they can be found. One is at the end of the text, and one is actually in the We the People segment. And I am not sure that I'm going to get there, but I'm going to try. Mark, I don't know that I actually got this right, so I may just go back to sharing my screen and
Okay.
not worrying about
What are you trying to share?
Well, I'm trying to share the can you see this?
No, right now we're just seeing you.
That's what I was afraid
Yeah.
of. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to go back to Okay, so this did not work. I was trying to get to the web page
To the
so
web.
that they could see where it is on We the People, the Citizen and the Constitution. So they would know how to get to the We the People page as well as to our civiced.org page.
Okay, do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, if you can.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Okay, so you would like to share, first of all, our civiced.org. Oops, civiced. I can type, everyone. Honestly, I can. Okay, so there's civiced.org. And then our We the People page is right here. And is there something specific with
Yes, if you go to hearings
Mhm.
and you just click on hearings, you'll notice a couple of things. First, about how to conduct a hearing online, which I think many of us would be interested in. But more importantly, I was asking you where you would find the questions. So if you go back to hearings,
right
and,
here, you can find
and
them
just
here.
go to hearing questions.
Also from the drop down.
Correct.
Questions. So either way.
And actually, okay, so you'll notice that there are 3 levels of questions here. There's a district, a state, and a national level. What on the high school level is in your textbook are the district questions. They are on the back of the student book. They're also in the back of the teacher's book. Right. And I think it is important. You'll notice that that very first question that I wrote down, how did classical republicanism and the natural rights philosophers influence the founders' views about government, is in fact the one that's there. So you will have that opportunity to be able to see that. And I think it's important that you determine this. And I think it's important that you know where to look for these things, because as we continue, I think that it becomes highly important for you to know this. All right, Mark, if I could share my screen back.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. There you go.
No. There we go.
We're not seeing it.
I'm sorry
okay,
about
good.
that.
There it is. Yep.
And for some reason, I'm stuck.
Sometimes if you click on, there you go.
Okay, so the non-competitive event. I think it's important that you know that there's a whole variety of ways in which you could do the hearing. It's a great form of alternative assessment, regardless of whether you use the competitive or the non-competitive approach, but you can certainly break the question up. So for example, at the end of Unit 1, you could just take your class and break it up into groups and actually only give one aspect of that question to the group. You can complete an entire question at the end of each unit, and you could instead divide your class into however many groups you would like, and actually have each one complete one of the questions. And that would allow you to actually not only use some of the district questions, but actually use some of the state questions or national questions, depending on the reading comprehension and the ability of your students, or for you to mix and match them. I have to tell you about the mini hearing, which I did not create. I saw it being done, and that is the questions where you just ask the kids a couple of questions. Where is it that they are able to deal with some of the issues that their units are very useful with? You can either give them the entire question or just a little piece of it. It is an absolute wonderful opportunity to hear it a little at a time. You can also do it as a class hearing where you ask your students all 3 questions. And or you could ask them 1 or 2 of the questions. You could have student input. I will be honest with you and tell you that I did try this with my American history class. I was going to use only 2 questions. I asked them for their input, and usually one of the questions that they did not want is one of the questions out of the 2 that I did ask. I will tell you I was mean that way, but that's life. As far as a competitive event is concerned, understand that you can have your classes. If you do this in more than one class, you can pit your class against each other, or you could do it formally. In a formal competition, there are 4 minutes of question, 4 minutes where the students actually give you a prepared statement. are based on one of the questions. They don't know the order in which the 3 questions are going to be asked if you determine to ask all 3 questions, or maybe just one. And you will, at the end of those 4 minutes, they will have prepared their answers to the questions, and they will, at that point, after they have delivered their 4 minutes, they will get 6 minutes of follow-up questions. I would strongly recommend that it is not just you, but you and 1 or 2 of your colleagues, perhaps, who has the time. If your class is doing very well, invite the superintendent, invite the principal, invite your assistant principal, invite anybody that you feel is very useful in your classroom to do this. You can choose to do this competitively with your classes, or you can choose to do it formally on the district level or on the state level, depending on your state. Now, Mark, I am going to ask you once again, if you don't mind, how do you find your state coordinator?
Yes.
Well,
I put a
them.
link in the chat. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
I put a link
I
in
just
the chat.
need you to go to the We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution. I can stop sharing.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to please return to the We the People page, the landing page. There you go. Okay, so if you go to the civiced.org and you click on We the People and you scroll all the way down to the very end of that individual page, you will notice that it says We the People in your state. And you will have the opportunity to click on a state, click on any state that you want.
Let's click on Nevada.
It tells you that this is Nevada, and it'll give you the state coordinator's name, the state coordinator's email address, their mobile phone, whatever they've given us, we have put up here, as well as any kind of upcoming events that they might have described for us. So I think it is important that you know that as well. So that if in fact, I mean, we have often referred to ourselves as the We the People family. And the reality is we are a family. You can reach us at any individual time, but you could also reach out to your state coordinators who are extremely well versed in doing this both in their classrooms as well as, because many of them had classrooms at one time, and they are extremely well versed in whether or not there's going to be a state competition. For I can tell you that most of them are going to have one this year. And whether or not you want to participate or you want to showcase, perhaps they are having only some new teachers showcase some of their units or all of their units. That's going to be up to you and the state coordinator. So I think it really does behoove you to take a look at that map and determine what's going to be the best way for you to go should you decide to do this competitively. Okay, please do not forget, actually, if you could send it back to me, that would be great.
I will do that. It's over to you.
And for some reason, okay, there we go.
Sometimes it takes a while to switch over.
Yeah, it does.
There you go.
And I'm sorry about that. I feel like it should not take that much time. Okay, now supporting material. We have plenty of supporting material. We have plenty of ways in which to protect and in which to help nurse you through this. And I say that without meaning it in a demeaning way. But the reality is that the first time you teach We the People, it can be somewhat confusing. You're thinking of yourself as being overwhelmed. The reality is we're not asking you to do this as an add-on. We're asking that you think about these materials and that you think about this as something that you would normally do in class, because in many respects, we're asking you to take a much more active role with your students in subject areas that they already need to understand and to participate in. So without much further ado, I'm going to talk about the We the People Teacher's Guide, which is going to give you a whole bunch of things. Now, I really, really think that the Teacher's Guide is something that you need to actually deal with. let me just see whether or not I can actually, for some reason, I can't go forward on this. There we go. So you want, the teacher's guide has 3 main parts to it. The front matter, which is an overview of the program and the student text, which gives you the goals, the rationale, the organization, assessments, culminating activities that are possible with this. It will give you an understanding of the format of the teacher's guide. It will also give you an understanding of the student text. It will give you the characteristics of effective educational programs. It gives you teaching methodology. So how do I do a town class or a town hall meeting in my classroom? How do I do a pro se court? How do I actually create a KWD chart, I believe it's called. How do I do a KWL chart? How do I keep journals? How do I brief a Supreme Court case? I mean, if I'm going to get my students to really read through this material, how am I going to do any of these things? All of that is described in the front matter, okay? Evaluating student achievement is in there as well. Then comes the second part, which talks specifically, and by the way, before I get to the second part, in evaluating student achievement, it actually allows you to, it gives you suggestions for reflection, which I think is very, very important. Whether you are doing a reflection of whatever lesson, whatever unit, whatever curriculum, whatever material, kids need to think about the process that they used, both in doing something and in learning something. And I think it becomes very, very important. So with all of those suggestions on how to do reflection and how to evaluate students is in that evaluating student achievement section. Then there's the section specifically on lesson plans, where we give you suggested lesson plans. Now, I can honestly say that no one knows your class better than you. No one. So all we could do is create lessons that we suggest. Perhaps you may decide to use part of a lesson, you may decide to completely overhaul a lesson. That is going to be up to you as you read through this. But we did not want to leave you completely in the lurch. There's also a reading list for both you and for you as a teacher, as well as for your students. And then we have the appendices, which, although we have Appendix A through D, we think that in particular, you really need to look at Appendix A and Appendix C, because Appendix A really does explain testing segments. Now, whether we like it or not, every one of these has testing opportunities. Whether we like it or not, we are in a world where we need to be able to show not just the alternative assessment, but actual paper and pencil tests. So we provide those to you. We also provide correlations to some of the tests, to all the test questions and the lessons that they are correlated to, as well as giving it to you as an opportunity to give them the entire test. Appendix C is very, very important because it explains how to conduct a hearing. And I think that's very important, because we do want you to do a hearing with your classes. Whether you do it competitively or non-competitively, we want you to actually get involved in getting this done. And the best person to talk to would be your state coordinator in this. And I've already showed you how to get to that person. Now, let's say that your readers, like mine, were not perfect at any of this material. So we have strategies for struggling readers that are also available. If you go to our website, you will notice that it has resource materials. And if you scroll down to other resource materials, you will see a bunch of them that are free. They are online and they are free. It's an easy to use text. It actually teaches teachers, or allows you as the teacher to understand how to go from reading to learn, learning to read to reading to learn. Sorry about that. So I'm going to say that again. It allows you to go from learning to read to reading to learn. And I think that that transition is very important. By the time kids get to high school, that transition should already have taken place. But we both know that it may have taken place in a different language. And as a result of that, it may be very, very difficult for teachers to actually be able to deal with that. And so this actually gives you how to deal with English language learners, how to deal with struggling readers, even in their own language that just are not there yet. Students who, the different, whether you're trying to acquire their prior knowledge, whether you're trying to get to the knowledge after they have done it, after they have read through the material, not done it, but read through the material. You will have graphs, charts, handouts that can be used, and it explains exactly how it can be used. Now, if you decide to use level 2 because your students' reading abilities are just not there yet, please know that the strategies for struggling readers also appears as a level 2. So you can pick and choose whichever you want. Now, I do recognize that some of the research in this material appears old, 2001, 2002, maybe it says even 1998, 1999. Please rest assured that all of these strategies are still in place. We have double-checked the research. All of the research is still in place. And so we have not yet updated that aspect of it, but the material is more than valid, and certainly the documents are more than valid. So Mark, with that, I'm going to send it back to you so you could talk about the We the People Resource Center.
I will do that. Maria, could you stop sharing your screen and then
yes, I'm sorry.
Share mine. No, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay. So this page is the strategies for struggling readers. I'm just showing you where it's found here in our resource materials section. That was what Maria was just talking about. I'm going to share with you something, a little known resource on our site, which is called the We the People Resource Center. Well, maybe a lot of teachers know about it, but you know, it doesn't get all the glory and attention of an ebook. But this is for people who have, primarily for teachers who have the paper book, and they want to have some kind of digital resource for their classroom. So you'll notice, and this is at civiced.org/resource center. You'll notice that it is divided into into 6 units. Here are all the 6 units of the book. Let's go ahead and just go into one of the units. And the units are divided into the different sections. So you've got lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and a bibliography for the unit. If we go into lesson 1, we will see, okay, it starts out with the lesson purpose. So what you can do with this, this website is, if you're introducing the lesson to the kids, you can broadcast this on your screen, or show it on your screen, and you'll see a number of things: the lesson purpose, the objectives. Click on the objectives, and these match exactly the objectives in the book and the lesson purpose and everything. The terms, you can copy those out and put it in a slideshow if you wanted to, something like that. And then, let's see, biographies. So these are the biographies of everyone who's covered in the entire unit, every notable person who's covered in the entire unit. You've got a bio of John Adams, Aristotle, William Blackstone, et cetera, et cetera. And primary sources. So this is a list of primary sources that are related to the lesson. You know, we mentioned many of these works, and these are, you know, public domain sources, like, you know, from Avalon, Yale at Avalon. And then we have my favorite section, the media section. Now this is really cool, and I'll explain why. So these videos are actually, they match. We have a video for every single lesson and every single section of the We the People textbook. That's a pretty cool thing. Now, these videos were actually designed for teachers, but you can use them in your classroom as well. They're very short. Like this one, this is the opening one, so it's a little longer, 8 minutes and 44 seconds. But this one, for example, is 3 minutes and 23 seconds, and that's pretty average. I'm gonna go ahead and play it. You'll hear from Sue Leeson, who is a retired Oregon Supreme Court Justice. And let me just play a few minutes of this. You should.
Where did various founders get their ideas about government?
Well, as we were just talking about, great range of colonists and people with different kinds of education and different kinds of experiences. Some of the colonists were trained in ancient philosophy. They had read Plato and Aristotle and Cicero, and they were of the belief, the ancients, that whenever we see a human being, we see him in association with another human being. Human beings are polis animals.
All right. So if you go through these videos, now you can assign these to your kids if you want. They help amplify the content of the book. For example, this is section 2. And what do I mean by section? Well, here's a PDF of the actual book. Each book is divided into sections noted by headers, right? This heading. So section 2 would be the second heading in this. So what you could do, for example, is have the kids read the text and then go to the Resource Center and watch the video where Sue Leeson, in this case, she's handling all the videos for Unit 1, where Sue Leeson explains in great detail some of the background behind that section of the book. So I think this is a really valuable resource. You can also find questions here. Now these questions are true, false, and short essay questions based on each section of the book. So these are not found in the teacher's guide. These are completely separate. So this is related to the very next thing I want to bring up, which is the learn.civiced.org website. So the URL here, and I'm going to be sharing you all these URLs. You don't have to remember them. They're in that PDF of the PowerPoint, but they're also, I'll email them to you along with this video. So learn.civiced.org is part of our James Madison Legacy Project. And it was funded by the federal government in order to train teachers on the We the People program and make them really competent teachers. But it's available to everyone. Now, the first thing you do is you create an account. Now, you can do that by logging in with Microsoft, Facebook, or Google, or you can create a manual account. So in other words, log into your Microsoft, Facebook, or Google account, and then you don't have to remember the password again. Every time you come here, you just do what I'm about to do and log in with Google. Of course, my session is timed out, so I'm just gonna, there you go. So there hold on. I'm not quite logged in. There I am. Okay, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like to be a student, okay? All right, so here I am. I'm gonna show you, now these are the primary resources on this website. Some very cool resources, very in-depth resources here. You as a teacher can get a full education on what the content of the We the People high school book is by accessing these open courses. So you just click on Show Courses, and these are open courses, so there's no fee or anything like that. It's all just free and open for you to enroll in, okay? So you just go in, so there's 2 courses here. There's the We the People open course, and there's the Strengthening Democracy in America series. The We the People open course is the one that goes through every section and every lesson of the book. It takes about 6 weeks to complete the entire thing. If you dedicate 6 to 8 hours a week, that's a big ask, but you can dedicate 1 hour. It's up to you. It's free, it's open, it's at your own pace. And the Strengthening Democracy in America course gives us even more background about the topics covered in We the People, but then it goes into problems of American governance. So, you know, what are the problems living in a democracy? And what are some proposed solutions to that problem? So we might go into things like the Electoral College. Okay, well, that's maybe not perfect. What are the pros and cons of it? And are there ways to fix it? Or does it need fixing at all? We have top scholars talking about those problems. And you just click here to enter it. And then you can see it's divided into an introduction, and then we've got each unit of the textbook and each lesson of the textbook. And what this looks like, and I was in section 2 earlier, what this looks like is the video I just showed you, plus some review questions. And those are the true, false, or multiple choice questions, and then some short essay questions. And I'll go in here. So the difference between what I just showed you and this is that this has the questions which are interactive. Okay, so you watch the video and then you go to the review questions. I've actually taken this quiz 72 times. I don't know, I appear to not be learning very much. I don't know what's wrong with me. But there we go. You can go ahead and, this is a true false question. So you just select the questions, and then this will say submit. Here, I'll just do this for fun. This is not how I really take quizzes, by the way. And you finish your attempt. And then you submit all and finish. Okay, there we go. And then it gives you your grade. Oops, well, I didn't do too well in that one. Okay, and it gives you some feedback. The correct answer is true, false, true, false. And it will also, on some questions, it'll give you some explanation of the question. And then you go on to the next question. And these are short essay questions. If you enter your response to the short essay question, you can then read other people's responses. And in order to protect their anonymity, I won't go into that. But let me go ahead and show you the Strengthening Democracy in America course. You go back here, you go to Open Courses, you page down to Strengthening Democracy in America. You click to enter. Okay, there we are. Now this works in the exact same way. This is divided into 2 parts. We've got part 1, which is the overview of the political system. So that covers kind of the basics of what you learn in We the People. And we've got Jack Barlow of Juniata College. What did the framers have in mind when they created the Constitution? That's course 1. Course 2 is William Galston. What is the history and development of our democratic institutions and norms? So these are really top-notch scholars who are talking about this, and it's the same kind of format. Part 2 is evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of the American political system. So that's where you go into, okay, now that we've had the overview, how can we, what are some of the strengths and weaknesses, and what are some proposals that are out there for improving these? Now keep in mind that you can share any of these with your students. That's on the table, you can do that. But you can also take these as self-paced online courses, and they work in exactly the same way. You have a video and you have questions. All right. So with that, I will turn it back over to the knowledgeable and talented Maria Gallo. Maria, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to you. And you're muted. So you might want to unmute. There you go. You're back on.
Wonderful. And I think, there we go. Except I think I now need to go forward a little bit. Okay. So the same thing that I'm going to stay on the learn.civic.org page, but I want to show you 2 things that I think that you as a teacher might find interesting. One is the civics forum, and the other is the resource page. You will notice the same way in which Mark entered the open course, you're going to go into the civic forum. And here, this is an opportunity for you to connect with teachers from all across the country. Ask a pedagogy question, ask a hearing question, ask a question in content. Maybe there's something going on that you want to discuss. It's an opportunity. We have plenty of knowledgeable scholars who are talking in the content area. It has been divided into content as well as pedagogy, and it's an opportunity for you to participate in part of that. And then if you were to continue on to the resource section, we have recommended books, we have free instructional resources. Now, reports, research, and articles I think is very important, because I think that there are some of these research and reports that you will find very useful, not in sharing with your students, but in perhaps sharing with your parents, or perhaps sharing some of this information with your leadership in the school district or in the school, as well as websites that are available not just for you, but also here's an opportunity for you to determine which one of these websites would be useful for your students. I think it is important for us to be able to make these kinds of decisions. Mark, I think we're going to go back to you for the webinars.
Yes,
Yes.
in fact, we will.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to go back to you.
Okay. So I just shared with everyone the resources page that Maria was talking about, and I'm going to go ahead and show you our webinars page. So this is really important. So I showed you, and Maria showed you, the learn.civiced.org site, where you can get this free self-paced professional development. If you go to civiced.org/webinars, and I'll be sending you that link, you don't have to memorize that, it will send you to this page. And I just want to point out that the page is divided into current webinars and then archived webinars or past webinars. And the past webinars page, you might want to check this out because it's very interesting. This is all about teaching in a COVID environment, distance learning, and it took place right before the school year kicked off. And we also have this really cool video, Teaching We the People Online Using Actively Learn. Now, Actively Learn is our ebook platform, and this teacher, Amanda Kropp, she's actually a We the People teacher in Virginia, and she walks you through how to teach We the People using distance learning and that ebook. So that's very interesting, but I want to show you this series, which is our Power to the People series, which is going on right now. If you click there, it'll take you to this page. This is a series of 7 webinars. The first one already took place on Constitution Day, but you can find the video right here. This was an overview of the Supreme Court, the previous Supreme Court season, the most recent Supreme Court season. And our next one is the Power of Indian Sovereignty. Now, this is a really, really interesting one that's going to happen this Thursday. We're covering a range of topics that are of interest to We the People teachers. And these are 1.5 hour long webinars that you'll be able to watch live and ask questions and interact with the scholars, or watch the recording, and they'll be on this page as well. So that covers that topic. Let me move on to something, another resource that you may not know about. This is our Facebook page. So this is really interesting. The 2 ways to keep up with the Center for Civic Education are our Facebook page and our newsletter. And here's the newsletter, and it's civiced.org/newsletter. And we send this out every month, and it's chock full of tips and techniques and resources, usually free resources that We the People teachers can use. But while you're in Facebook, feel free to sign up for our We the People teachers groups. It's facebook.com/groups/We the People teachers. This is only for teachers of We the People. I approve the people who come in. We've got 357 members. If you get stuck with something, and you need an answer to something, you need tips from other teachers, go ahead and enter them into this group. And our teachers are very helpful. Once they see the question, they will help you answer it. So, and let me share with you finally something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is the 60 Second Civics podcast. This is at civicad.org/60second civics. So this is a podcast and a daily civics quiz. We have a new one every single day. Basically, the way it works, so a lot of teachers use this as a warm-up activity in their classrooms, just to get the kids thinking and get their minds off of their phones and off of the dramas of whatever's going on, and onto the subject at hand, which is civic education. So, for example, we have a daily civics quiz here. We have a new episode every day, and you can use this. For example, you can, the way I suggest you use it is you play the podcast. I'm not going to do it, but you can play the podcast by pressing that button. And then you have the kids answer, you put this on your screen and have the kids answer the questions, or they can do this on their individual devices. So let's see. Free Soilers advocated for, now I know the answer because I wrote the quiz. If they get the answer wrong, it says, please listen to the podcast and try again. If they get it right, there you go. It'll show you Bravo, choice A is correct. Now, the way some teachers use this is they have a contest between their classes. Let's say you're teaching in period 2 and period 5, and they have a running tally. Okay, this class has answered, they're on a 20-day winning streak. Can you beat it? And at the end of the class period, you get something. I don't know, whatever you think is appropriate as a teacher. The other thing I want to show about this is that you can search for an episode. So let's say you're interested in teaching George Washington. Do we have any episodes about George Washington? Let's look. It turns out we do. It turns out we have a ton of episodes about George Washington. He comes up, believe it or not, he comes up an awful lot. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I hope you find that as a fun and amusing way to start the day, and they only take a minute. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to you, Maria.
Sure. And I'm just going to say that the kids love 60-second civics, and so do the teachers, and I would highly recommend using them, because they really are only 60 seconds in length. They really Mr. Gage Mark does a fabulous job of doing 60 seconds, 1 minute. So it really should not take you very long to get through this.
It sometimes, just for full disclosure, it sometimes goes over a minute, but
yeah, but very rarely. And I love the search feature. So it's a wonderful opportunity to use it. Now, as we have said, if you want to learn how to use our ebook, because nowadays we might choose to use the ebook as opposed to using actively the hardcover text, you can purchase it from Actively Learn or from us directly, and we will get it through to you from Actively Learn. And here is Amanda Kropp, who, as Mark said, is a high school teacher from Virginia. And she is explaining how that material is used in her classroom, and all of the wonderful opportunities and activities that you can do that have enhanced the ebook, because it really allows for a dialogue between you and your students, as well as it's not just they take it home or whatever you're watching them do, but they're actually, they're actively learning. Is basically what it says. And then, of course, we're back to decisions. So take a look at the material, take a look at this, make a decision as to how you are best going to teach this. And I think that the very next one is going to be some of the websites that we have talked about today and that we've certainly looked at, and that are going to be available to you. So they're websites to remember, but as Mark said, you don't have to go scribbling all this down, because we're going to send this all to you so that you will have an opportunity to do this. So with that, Robert, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I thought you guys did a great job, very informative. I learned some things. There's a lot of stuff we have that I think teachers need to take advantage of in this tough time of teaching. I will say this, that the reason why I've been involved with the Center for Civic Education now for going over 30 years is because of its rigor. It asks students to do more. It challenges students and it challenges teachers. You know, my philosophy when I was teaching was if you expect more, you get more. And the We the People program expects a lot. But seeing young people being able to demonstrate their knowledge of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and government in front of adults asking them tough questions is something you can't deny is good education. It's a great experience for the students. It's a great experience for the teachers. Parents are impressed. Superintendents are impressed. Principals are impressed. The public is impressed. And what I know for sure is that students who are involved in the We the People program, when they become adults, will be active, participating citizens in our country that will vote at a minimum, that will participate in a number of ways because they know that's the strength of a democratic republic, is to participate when needed. And I'm convinced, and there's no question, the students who have an opportunity to learn about government and the Constitution by the numerous We the People teachers out there who take upon this curriculum in their government history class or whatever, in a We the People class, if they might want to call it that, are convinced that their students are getting the best education possible when it comes to understanding what it means to be a citizen in our country. There can't be anything more important. I used to teach math. That's important. Physics is important. Chemistry is important. Language arts is important. But regardless of what we do as adults, the one thing we have in common is being citizens. And therefore we need, it seems to me, every generation, some kind of understanding of government, how it works, is our relationship to the Constitution. And I'm very biased. I don't think there's anything better out there than the We the People program. So good luck, teachers. Know, as Maria said, that we are a family. There's help out there for you. And I would encourage you to take advantage of the videos that we have to learn the content yourselves, and contact your state coordinators about professional development opportunities in your state that helps you learn more about these big time ideas that are expressed in the We the People textbook. So thanks for being a part tonight. Appreciate it. And I'll turn it back to Maria and Mark.
Thank you very much, Bob. I just wanted to add to that, and I think it's something that Robert has said on more than one occasion, and that is that, you know, all of our students have the ability to learn. Every single one of our children or our students have the ability to learn. And what we're going to do is teach them. And we're asking them to stretch their imagination a little bit. And we're asking them to reach a little higher than we have in the past. But every single student can do this. And I can't tell you, I can't stress that enough. And the fact is that we have given as much possible help as possible. But if you think of anything that you need that we have not thought of, please let us know. We would be very happy. You will have our emails. We will be very happy to either respond to you, deal with whatever the issue may be, etc. But we would very, very much like you to hear from you. Mark?
Thank you very much for that, Maria. Well, I'll be following up, as I said in the chat, with a link to all of these resources and this video. And thank you all for attending tonight. I appreciate your commitment as teachers of civic education, especially you know, in an election year. You have a big job, so good luck to you. Let us know how we can help. And with that, we'll say good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.